Buddy, this is Starlight coming at you with another video. As many of you are aware, there is the 589 Ripple Riddle, and a lot of people have done some really great decoding on that, many wonderful deep dives. So I kind of just wanted to add to and also take a look at previous decodes and kind of see where everything fits. And in many ways, it is biblical, and just seeing the tapestry here of how everything is, all the dots are connecting, and how everything is unfolding is nothing short of amazing. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we have here, this is some information I came across recently. So we have the 6 days and Sabbath. According to the Kaballah, the entire creation and every part of it consists of an inner spiritual core surrounded by an outer physical shell. Geometrically, this concept is represented in Genesis 1:1, the triangle. So here we have an image, and altogether here we have 2,701 dots. The 73rd triangle splits to 4 triangles. So we have the 36th triangle, which is 6 times 6. The number is 666 there. And then you can see in the middle we have 703, the 37th triangle. So what does that mean? So Genesis 1:1 has gematria of 2,701, breaks down to 703 plus 666 plus 666 plus 666. Both 703. Let me just say 703 for simplicity. Both 703 and 666 are triangle numbers, 37th and 36th respectively. The 703 triangle fits in the exact center and represents the inner spiritual core. The surrounding 666 triangles represent the external physical shell, which encloses the spiritual core. 666 is the 36th triangle, equals 6 times 6. Observe also that 6 surrounds both Genesis triangles through their perimeters. The perimeter of a triangle number is obtained by the math formula 3x times n minus 1. So Genesis 1:1, triangle of 28 letters, is the 7th triangle number. Its perimeter is thus 3 times, I'm sorry, I think I said 3 times n minus 1 for the other, but it should be 3 times 7 minus 1 equals 18, which breaks down further into 6 plus 6 plus 6. Similarly, the Genesis 1:1 gematria of 2,701 is 73rd triangle number, and its perimeter is thus 3 times 73 minus 1, which equals 216, which equals 6 times 6 times 6, 6 times 6 times 6. A lot of sixes here. Sorry if I'm fumbling with my words. The divine attribute used to constrict God's, and here's where we're getting into the, what does that mean for us, really? Because sometimes math needs to be explained in another format. So the divine attribute used to constrict God's infinite light to make room for the physical is called the Sephira of Gevurah. Amazingly, the 3 gematrias of Gevurah are, in standard gematria, 216. Well, there's our 6 times 6 times 6. Ordinal gematria, we got 36. 6 times 6, 36 triangle equals 666. Small gematria, we have the numeric value of 18. What is 18? How another way 18 can be expressed is 6 plus 6 plus 6. So we're starting to see the dots really connect here, and what does this mean mathematically in our physical world, our spiritual world, right? Spiritual and physical. The 6 represents the physical world, the world of external appearance. The surrounding 666 triangles and perimeters represents the creation of matter and time. There are 6 weekdays, time, and 6 directions of space from a center point: up, down, north, east, south, west. Correspondingly, there were 6 days of creation, physical, and a 7th day Sabbath, which represents spiritual. And we know 7 is God's number, right? 6 is the number of man, because we were created on the 6th day of creation. The 666 triangles and total perimeters are folded as a shell around 703, which represents the inner spiritual realm, which is the Sabbath. And it's really cool because I did a recent video, and I briefly touched on the Sabbath and some of the like the Kaballah teachers. Everyone has a perspective on what the Sabbath is. But so far, the Kaballah lens has given me the best explanation of what Sabbath is. But now I came across this today. Last night. I decided to make a video today. So I thought it was so cool that to get a mathematical representation of the Sabbath and how, all this, the construct of this realm is mathematical. That's one of God's languages is math. And just to be able to translate that into a different mode is really, really cool. So let me just read that over again. The 666 triangles and total perimeters are folded as a shell around 703, which represents the inner spiritual realm, Sabbath, which is the goal of creation and which is the temple of God. So the Hebrew for Sabbath equals 703 with Kollel. This is part of the reasons why Sabbath with Kollel, with all the parts it contains in the center point, equals 703. So 703 is really the complete structure, including the 666 triangles. It is the little that holds the parts, as 2701 in gematria can also be expressed as 2 plus 701, that equals 703. Itself. For the true reality is this. Okay, this is pretty intense stuff here. So for the true reality is the spiritual reality. The center point, right? The physical is merely an external superficial appearance, an outer perimeter or shell serving the inner core. The spiritual reality itself is what creates and sustains the physical reality. And I'll be getting to the 589 really soon, so just bear with me. So note that the 666 triangle is the 36th triangle, while the 703 triangle is the 37th triangle of a difference of 1. Note, thus, the 3 666 triangles can be folded into a hollow 3D structure to get the formation of triangles of 703 from each of the 4 sides. Due to the overlap on the perimeters, they superimpose dots, and we get a total of 2,594 dots, which is also a big secret. Ergo, you have the 703 triangle surrounded by 3 666 triangles. Each of these 3 666 triangles folds upwards, and you get this hollow 3D structure that has the secret 2,594 dots and 703 dots on each face. So a similar picture is hinted in Pi 2701, which first appears in Pi at the 165th, 166th, and the 167th and 168th decimal digits of Pi. So you can see there the 2701 comes in at the 2 being 165th, 7 at 166th, 0 at 1/67th, and 1 at 1/68th. That also adds up to 666. Now, while I was looking at pi, I noticed that 589 is one of the number sequences here. Let me show. Okay, so as you can see here, I have highlighted it in green. So we have pi. We know, most of us we know at least the 2 decimal places in 3.14, right? That's the approximation. But now if we keep counting, we have 3.14159265358 So I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting, especially since everyone's trying to decode the 589. And I think it's kind of weird how this works. It seems like if you decode it, somehow you unlock the map, kind of like in a video game. So like news unlocks the map, right? If anyone is familiar with Q, you're familiar with news unlocks the map, and who's the news? We are the news. So it's kind of like we're in this video game, and we have these little Easter eggs, and as we find them, it unlocks the map. It unloads or unfolds the lotus, so to speak. So now here's what's really interesting. So 589 first appears in pi at the 10th, 11th, and 12th decimal digits of pi. So 10 equals 1 plus 0 equals 1. 11 equals 1 plus 1 equals 2. 12 equals 1 plus 2, which equals 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, right? So let me just skip over here. Now, this is one of the famous riddles here by Baba Kugs. It has the infinity symbol, and then we have 1, 2, 3, and then mirrored 3, 2, 1. So I thought, wow, that's really interesting how 589 just so happens to be at the 10th, 11th, and 12th decimal digits of pi, which breaks down to 1, 2, 3, right? And also 10 plus 11 plus 12 is 33. And we know that's a master number, right? There's a lot of deep dives that we can do into 33. And then we also have 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. So that's also relevant, right? Because as we saw in the previous website I was showing you, 6 is relevant as the outer shell. So I also came across this wonderful information here. So 589 can also be 5 plus 8 plus 9, right? We have that. So 5 plus 8 plus 9 equals 22. And then 5 plus 8 plus 9, 5 times 8 times 9 equals 360, which is a circle, the circumference of a circle. And what I meant to say was a circle is 360 degrees. So this decoder wrote that there's 589 days in between the birth of David Schwartz and Elon Musk. And what's really interesting is the approximations for pi are obtained through division here, right? So here are the 10 best rational approximations for pi. So we have 22 divided by 7. So if you only want to know the number of correct decimal places, ignore the fractional parts of the number in the decimals column above. For example, 22 divided by 7 gives 2 correct decimal places. It almost gives 3. So technically the decimal column gives the negative log 10 of the absolute error. So 22 is important because that's 5 plus 8 plus 9, right? So somehow there's a correlation with the 5, 8, 9 and the 22. And of course the 7. So 22 divided by 7. And we could see the math here. 22 divided by 7 equals, and then 3.14 is the closest we get to pi, right? And what I thought was really interesting, and I'm not sure what relevance this holds, but the feast of Saint Mary Magdalene is celebrated on July 22nd of each year. So there we have 7 and 22 again. Jesus, her significant disciple of Jesus and the apostle to the apostles. This day recognizes her role as the first witness to the resurrection and includes various liturgical celebrations and customs across Christian communities. So here's another dot. I'm not exactly sure what this means, but I know it's important. So this is the article that I came across that is just a wealth of information, a fountain of information here. So this is Gematria Sky Party blog. This was written March 19th, 2024. And also what's interesting is we do have National Pi Day, right? Which is March 14th. So I'm sure that has relevance as well. So this person here is did a brilliant deep dive on the meaning behind 589 and how it's biblical. I mean, everything's biblical. If you cannot see the creator's pen, so to speak, creation, right? Pen is like the creation point. In everything, then you'd have to be blind. Really, it's just, I'm in awe of just, you know, and there's always proofs like, oh, it can be proven mathematically, it could be proven with numerology, you know, we even have astrology, planets. It's just all of it, just it's a symphony of just, you know, information that corresponds to God, the creation, and how we are part of that as well. So knowledge can be gained from information presented here, even if you're not into crypto. So astro-aligning astronomy astronomy, such as counts and date spans, is a way to gain insight of past events. It is also inviting to look at future dates. I will point out a few lookout dates in regard to XRP using basic astronomical parameters. Some may scoff at the concept of using astro to look into the future. Rest assured, number one, no predictions are being made here, and number two, I believe much media-covered events are prearranged by man. Therefore, no artificial divination exists. If you think the mainstream media contains no scripting and propaganda, then feel free to stop here and continue to follow that sort of news coverages. If you are ready, make way towards learning about a number tied to the House of David and utilized by XRP. All right, so buckle in. You might already be wondering about 589 if you have previously seen this number associated with XRP. So first, there will be detailing the number 589 and why I think the number is special. It started in 2019 with an interest with XRP, a cryptocurrency owned by Ripple Labs Inc. All right, and there's Ripple's logo. We see the triskelion. Okay, so I first saw 589 on a 2020 fake Simpsons image that went kind of viral in the crypto world. It showed Bart writing 589 on a chalkboard. There was already 589 showing up on cryptic Masonic Riddler content, including the number as an XRP price prediction. A certain guy that I won't name was propagating having fun with 589 and had gematria in his username. Possibly just a coincidence with that one, but bear with me, wink wink, on this story. So, 589 prediction, and we all know Bearable Guy 123, and there's that 123, which in pi, the number sequence, as we touched on earlier, it's in the 10th, 11th, and 12th position, which breaks down to 1, 2, 3. The mystique of 5-8. Okay, so gematria of King David and Christ Messiah. The mystique of 589 was intriguing. Was there a reason, or was the number arbitrary? Then in August 2021, I found out that the biblical name of King David in Hebrew sums to 589. Ripple's CTO, David Schwartz, came to mind. And then if anyone's aware then of, there's also the Mashiach, which the Jewish sages have written about, and he comes from the lineage of King David. So, and also there's a lot of people that think that there's the two messiahs, Joseph and David. So, I mean, you got to do like really deep dives to understand the entirety of that. So anyways, so here we have the word or phrase King David. It's 589 Hebrew Sophits. So King David founded the Judean dynasty and united all the tribes of Israel. Jesus Christ belonged to a branch descended from King David. I'm not sure about a root of 22, but David and XRP some nights lead to 22 in reduction. And 589 also, as we discussed, 5 plus 8 plus 9 equals 22. King equals 22, reverse reduction. Messiah is a type of king, which is used frequently to describe Jesus. A better example, and that's Greek, I don't know what that says, but sums to 22. That word is the Greek word for Messiah. Anglicized as Christ. X is short for that word. Of course, XRP is on the table. Overlap the letters of XRP and voila, there appears something similar to the Christogtam Chi-Rho. Although the R is not included, the letter R can still be created with the overlapping X and P. Another coincidence? Maybe, but it's too intriguing to discount. All right, so there is the Chi-Rho symbol there. And yeah, you can definitely, we're looking here, you can, make what you will, but you can see an X, R, and P in there. That can't be denied. So, XRP, Financial King and Savior, I don't know. Let's just Let's just entertain this author, keep an open mind. God has a plan for everything. And it's up to us to connect the dots. I think I need to be clear when tossing the word Messiah around. There are personas tagged by the media on public figures, often embraced by the figures themselves, with savior roles such as Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Refer to my past blog about it. I am pointing to the assignment to XRP and or possibly its creator, David Schwartz. To clarify, these are Messiah S tags applied in the context of assumed hidden craft. So, he's going to go into here about King Solomon and the First Temple. And so King Solomon, the son of David, is said to have died between 58 to 59 years of age. Even more interesting, the siege of Jerusalem began in 589 BC, and the recent article essay I did a video on was the Jehoiakim. He was the last king in the Book of Kings in the Bible, and it was talking about the tribe of Judah, right? They were exiled in Babylon, and it had mentioned 589 BC in the essay, which definitely sparked my interest and intrigue, and then I knew, like, there was definitely a message here, more than likely from the divine. So okay, I'm not gonna go further into all that, but so we're looking at dates of interest regarding SEC versus Ripple. This April should bring bigger news as the lawsuit is finally said to finally be drawing near to an end. Many people have bated breath over this lawsuit and have been disappointed at the frustration it has caused over the past few years. I think XRP is an exciting and efficient utility, so I hope things move forward sooner than later. Either way, it looks like it's here to stay. We are quickly approaching the first Jovian year of Ripple Labs, Inc. existence on Friday, April 12th, 2024. So Ripple was founded on June 2nd, 2012. One sidereal orbital period, orbit around the sun of the planet Jupiter, lasts 4,332 days, approximately. So the time frame would be June 2nd, 2012 through April 12th, 2024. Then we get the 4,332 approximate days. So one Jovian year. And now what does Jupiter have to do with this? Okay, well, Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is very interesting because it is a player in the Great Conjunction when Jupiter and Saturn get very close together relative to our view into space. The last Great Conjunction peaked on December 21st of 2020. This alignment coincided with the 12/20/20 filing of the Big SEC lawsuit against Ripple. And check out the orbital pattern between Jupiter and Saturn. A triskelion resembling the Ripple logo appears as the two planets orbit the sun. The image below is after 7 orbits. So the start of SEC versus Ripple lawsuit coincided with a great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. Astronomers just recognized that the 60-year cycle of Saturn and Jupiter, based on 2 revolutions of Saturn's 30-year cycles, is equal to 5 revolutions of Jupiter's 12-year cycles. Jupiter and Saturn demonstrate a rare pentahexa relationship happening in the macrocosm. They jointly come together every 20 years, forming a pentagram, and their oppositions every 10 years forms the Star of David. So, let me jump back to this previous article. Before I go back to that previous article, I just want to revisit. So I recently did a short on the sparse pandemic gematria, and there's always like little Easter eggs in that as well. So if you noticed in the video, I scrolled down to this here, how many entries are in how many pages entries are showing up here in the English and simple gematria. So everything has meaning, right? It's sometimes really hard to know, but I think we're all kind of like getting better at this. Maybe it's all the solar flares. Anyways, so 343, and I knew there was significance to this number. And, of course, the universe did not disappoint. So, in this article, I see here we have the number 343. So it equals 7th cube, and that's 7 times 7 times 7. So the cube 343 holds within it the 3D Star of David, 51. The center point of 51 is Havaya, which equals 26, the tetragrammaton. This is so wonderful. This means that the remainder of what is holding the perfect 3D Star of David with 51 points is 343 minus 51, which equals 292, which equals 2 times 2 times 73. Bet to the power bet times Chakma wisdom. Wonderful. Oh, so wonderful. It fits so well. And as this is a house to contain the star inside 7 cubed, so it equals 7 to the power 3, which hints at 73, and is part of Ma'ase Bereshit creation. So we see this form each time it is written. Vayomer Elohim, and Elohim said, Chakma wisdom surrounding as a house, the Star of David, that Havaya, 26, is its center point. So the 3D Star of Davids have exactly the same points as their counterpart 3D Star pyramids, where you stack one on top of the other, while 3D Star of Davids are what is called stella octangula in math. Thus, this is the third 3D Star of David constructed by the star pyramid of the first 3 star numbers. 1 plus 13 plus 37 equals 51. This is indeed very beautiful and has profound implications. This illustrates how the Torah is using these figurate numbers as meanings and tunnels information within a single word or action, like Vayomer Elohim. This shows us how genuinely astonishing the Torah is, how amazing Hashem is. It also serves as a building block to elude us to go deeper into the text and find out how things really work, how matter is being formed, how speech is contained within a box using wisdom in a house of cognitive coherent thoughts, how important it is to have the exact correct resonance with meaning behind it. This turns us into terms of frequency and vibration. In simple terms, not only does this show wonders, but it also alludes us to understand that the universe is vibrating energy in a specific frequency. The frequency and vibrations set specific structure, thoughts create resonance, etc. This looks like the beginning of something really big, in my opinion. We see that Vayomer Elohim is a container of a 3D Star of David, where its very core, the center point, derives from the number most associated with the name Havaya, Tetragrammaton, which is hidden in Ma'ase Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, until the end, and it is submerged within space. That literally says house structure of wisdom. Beit to the power beit hints at making a structure called a house. A house in Hebrew, bait, focuses on the inside. And we all know the first word in the Bible starts with beit, B, which is a house. I want to take a closer look at 86 verses 257. It makes an almost perfect balance of 1/4 and 3/4 out of 343, i.e. 86 is 25% and 257 is 75%. And I could just go on and on. Just interestingly, 343 is also the gematria of rain. For rain is outside the natural order, when, where, how, etc., it will fall. Okay, I'll read this. So I asked him about 666, and everyone freaks out about this number, but it's, we need understanding. We need to look into the deeper meaning of everything and not, just look at the face value of it and dismiss it as evil And anyways, ignorance is evil. So 666 alludes to both Kedusha, which is holiness, and Klipa, physicality, shells. Triangle 36 corresponds to the Lamed Vav 36, Tzaddikim, and half of 72, which is Chesed, kindness. But that is the orientation of the fruit inside. So basically, it is Klipat or shell that gives rise to what we call matter. And this world, reality, it doesn't mean bad thing as long as Kedusha holiness is inside. The Kedusha holiness can be looked at like energy within the matter. When one splits even just the hydrogen atom, you find out there is a huge amount of energy. Most people in this generation look at the matter, which is 0.0000001%, or so of reality. So to sum it up, when I say Klippa, I do not mean bad thing or evil thing. I mean it serves the Kedusha, or Chaz Veshalom, those who see the Klippa physical shell only and not the Kedusha holiness are fallen to the Klippa, and their mind is set to the wrong place. You know, if you think everything is evil, you're going to see evil everywhere. And I've seen this a lot. Just people are dead set on only looking for the wrong in everything. And I mean, I'm not talking about, seeing everything through rose-colored glasses, but come on. Let's not put ourselves into a little box of implosion. So anyways, but it does mean Klippa itself is evil, but it doesn't mean Klippa itself is evil. Klippa is necessary and wanted and needed for the creation and maintaining of this world. So do not hate yourself, because that's part of us. But, to understand, to know thyself, that's where we need to focus. So 343 found on location 666 alludes to the fact that God created matter using the Tiva phrase 343, as we spoke about it earlier. So the Klippa or shell or outer layer, when it is godly ordered, serves the Kedusha perfectly, and everything is in perfect balance and harmony. This is the role of the Tzaddikim, righteous, to balance reality, to allow it to be sustained in the way of, so says the Lord, if not for my covenant with day and night, Torah, I would not place the statutes of heaven and earth. And just reflecting on pi and numbers, this is also some information I came across recently, was that Metatron, so this is the archangel that rules over Keter, the first sphere of the tree of life, the crown sphere. So Metatron's gematria value in Hebrew is indeed 314, okay, which corresponds to the name Shaddai, indicating a connection to divine protection and presence. The numerical value highlights Metatron's significance in Jewish mysticism and Kabbalistic teachings. So we're looking at 314 here. So that's pi, right? 3.14, the approximation of pi. So one of the more complex angelic entities in Torah literature is called Metatron, also known as Memtet. So when I was doing a decode on the numerology of this year 2026, breaks down to a 10, further breaks down to a 1. So we got ones and zeros here. So my focus in that video was about the 10th sphere and the first sphere in the tree of life. So the first sphere is Keter, the crown, and then we have Malkut, which is the 10th sphere, and that is the kingdom earth, right? So I just find it so intriguing how all these dots connect, and you could start to see how they connect. It's just, it's like a eureka type moment. So Here are some terms and concepts connected to Metatron: the Watchman, the Prince, Mediator, Shaddai, Teacher of Mysteries, the King of Angels, the Servant of the King, the Body of the Shekinah, Handmaid of the Shekinah, the Staff Rod of Moses, the Middle Pillar, the Angel of God's Presence, Head of the World of Creation, the Source of Light of the Rainbow, the Source of Light of the Rainbow. And I'm so sorry to have to bounce back and forth, but I was just so excited. All right, so as we know, we have pi, right, which is relevant to the circular rainbow. So the rainbow is not just a 180-degree arc. We can only see a portion of the rainbow. But if you are high enough from the plane's view, you should see that the rainbow is indeed circular. Pi is the ratio of a circumference of a circle to its diameter. And there you go, a circle. It is curious to know as to why the rainbow could be seen in two different ways in two different positions. This is very much related to the Genesis flood. The rainbow was directly linked to the worldwide judgment back in the times of the Genesis flood. Therefore, this is saying that the worldwide judgment for this final generation, not counting the 1,000 years millennium, will be connected to pi. The number 3 is pivotal. I don't necessarily believe everything or agree with everything that the author of this article is saying, but this person definitely has a lot of knowledge that I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And just reading here from the Zohar, okay? Zohar Vayikra 66b, Arhose said, "How are we to understand the words, and they saw the God of Israel? Who can see the Holy One? Is it not written, no man can see me and live?" It means that a rainbow appeared above them in radiant colors, resplendent with the beauty of his grace. Therefore, the saying that he who gazes at a rainbow gazes at, as it were, at the Shekinah. Arhose further said they saw the light of the Shekinah, namely him who is called the youth, Metatron, and who ministers to the Shekinah in the heavenly sanctuary. So, everything is biblical. You cannot deny it. Like, I wish we did more deep dives into the Torah. Just looking at the tarot here, we've got the high priestess. She's got the knowledge here, right? She's sitting in the middle in between the two pillars. And what is she holding in her lap? She is holding the Torah scroll. And she's got the cross. The cross is 4. What is 4? 4 is 1 plus 3, right? So if you took the approximation of pi, which is 3.14, and you did it 4 equals 1 plus 3, there's also another mystery there. So, kind of like X marks the spot. All right, so I'm just going to dive deeper into this lady's article here. So the Passover blood doorpost as described in Exodus 12, the blood was marked on both sides of the doorway, and one on top makes up the symbol pi. Passover is obviously the time of the slain lamb that represents the sacrifice of Jesus who died in our place to be redeemed. This is saying that during the time of Passover, it will be linked to pi and our time of redemption. And I also, I got an AI involved in this as well. So AI says the number 589 holds profound significance in gematria, appearing in both ancient and modern texts. It is linked to the code of a number, and all for one and one for all. In Hebrew gematria, symbolizing unity, transformation, and divine presence. Additionally, it connects to crypto symbolism, XRP, and historical figures like King David and Jesus. Below is a detailed breakdown of its meaning and meaning and interpretation, positive traits, transformation, brilliance, and farsightedness. Negative traits, overly serious or antisocial behavior. Base number 22, symbolizing divine justice and balance. So when we're looking at the time of Passover, divine justice. The first Passover was already passed back in April. Okay, so this is an old article, and it's not, the time frame on that is not relevant. So Pi and the two trees, and out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. There were two trees in the midst of the garden, the tree of life and the tree of death. When the symbol pi is exploded, it becomes two letters, T and T. According to the alphabetical system, the letter T equals to the number 7. Thus, pi could be seen as the number 77. A tree is a T because Jesus was nailed to a cross tree, and the cross looks like a T, which is 7 as well. When pi is exploded as 2T, then it looks like the two trees, hence pi is a number referring to both life and death. This is very much related to Euler's number page about the cross. All right, so the approximation number of pi is 22 divided by 7, 3.14. So this carries a huge prophetic significance because this is related to the number 122, meaning the beginning of the end, judgment and transformation. Many signs are pointing to July as the month of rapture. I don't necessarily believe in the rapture. I believe more in like a revealing, revelations of sort, being late part of the month. July 22nd would be the Pentecostal start boundary. There is no date setting here, for this is targeting the month. Okay, and the boundary of the month. No specific day and hour. So July is borrowing June's identity and reflecting Genesis 9:22. According to the exploded alphabets and alphabetical system, the pi number 3.141 as 14 and 13 backwards in Hebrew's reading would be M 13:14 and N 13:14. So M as 13, N as 14, respectively. When M and N are exploded, it is the number 6 and 7. Decoded as the number of transformation. This is saying that both months of June and July will be pi months. So that leads me back to Baba's chart here, which we have June and July, right? And it's the 22nd. So the 22 is the 589. The 22 is significant. And I'm not going to go too much further into this calendar here. So pi and the number 33. Jesus Christ died at the age of 33, and there is a prophetic significance to this number. Pi hits at two main directions with the Gregorian and Jewish calendars together, since pi starts with the number 3. Therefore, pi hits at the 12 March position and 3 Sivan direction, making up the number 33. The death of Jesus represents the death of the bride, aka the transformation of the bride at pi. This is showing that there is a relationship between March and Sivan, Jewish March, and that they work together pretty well, such as matching Revelation 6:12. So the other very important thing is to know that Israel is always the gauge. It is always the center timepiece. Ignore the march that points to 12, and Sivan, the Jewish march, is the one, this is the sure reminder. Gregorian calendar is always the minor, and the Jewish calendar is always the major. This is why when applying the clock direction, it is Jewish-based and not Gregorian-based. Hitting at 12 here is Adar and not December, making sure this is the correct clock. So it's June, July in there, see? Adar and Nisan. But that was 2012. So I'm not even sure what it lines up with currently. But I'll have to figure that one out on my own, and I just know this is relevant. And if there's any decoders watching this, I'm sure this will make more sense. But the 6 and the 7 are important because, as we saw in the previous article, you know, the triangles, the 666, the 703, the 6th day is man, creation, the 7th day is spiritual, godly. So, and then as we know, 7 plus 6 is 13, which equals 4. We get pi, right? 3, 1, and 4. 13 equals 4. 1 plus 3 equals 4. So there's pi in there. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video here. I appreciate you watching, and let me know if you have any information that you'd like to add to this. You know, iron sharpens iron. Stay blessed. Thank you.